Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday.
It has been an interesting time here at the farm for sure. The weather is still been a little bit cool. We've gotten a bunch of rain lately, right? Yeah, my glasses are all kinds of crooked. What's going on? Anyway, am I crooked?
No.
Oh, maybe it's my ears are crooked. Anyway, got a bunch of rain. Weather's been decent in the 70s, but they're saying next week or late next week, into the next week, we're going to get 100-degree weather. So I'm not very excited about that. But the good news is the weather changes. It forces you to do other things. You know, it's
work inside.
Great time to get in the shade in this particular case and, you know, do maintenance or whatever, you know. So anyway, that's good. Let's get some hellos in.
Yes.
Do that? Sure. Let me go over to the top here. Squatchy was the first one in the house. Good to see you. Tamara Smith, hello, hello. Carrie Davis says she's tarred. Does that mean that you're a politician and you've collected tar and feathers? What does tarred mean?
Tired.
Oh, tired. I like my story better. Much, much better. Songs of Joy, welcome in. Good to see you. Jane, good evening to you. Let's see here. Gregory says, hello, everyone, on this fine, fun Friday. It is that, too. Yep, Kat, how you doing, buddy? Greatest name on the internet is in the house from hot and humid Florida. Skanes girl, when are we going to see you again? Let's see here. Jesus is in the house. Beth Emily, good to see you. Good to see you. We'll get down here a little bit. Prep Rebel Actual. I don't know why that is so. That's like the ultimate tongue twister name.
I don't know about the ultimate. But...
It's pretty good. Dana Green says, hello, Freedom Friends. Hello, Dana. How are you? Life with Mike and Jen. Jen, how are you, my friend?
Good.
Yeah. Matt, what's going on, buddy? Silver Lining, how are you? Lazy Loper, good to see ya. Let's see here. There's Squatchy back in the house. David, how are you, my friend? Let's see here. Yes, Carrie says no feathers involved. Gratitude to Grace, good to see you. Nitos, how are you, my friend? Bird's Eye View.
Hello, friend.
Yep, I just had a text message with you not long ago. Ricky Dicky Doodah Grimes. I love that name too. How are you? My buddy Indiana Mike, ahoy, good to see you. And I think I'm caught up at least for now. And I like it when, even if, for those of you who don't comment very much and just listen or whatever, I would still love it if you just type hello. And so that I could recognize you for donating your energy capital to be here tonight, you know, because it's valuable. It's certainly valuable to me.
Yeah, I agree.
You know. Barbara's in the house and Aljo, of course. Yep. Well, I don't know if you want to answer this or not, B. Carrie Davis wants to know how's your mama?
My mom passed this week.
Yeah, we lost Bethany's mom on Tuesday of this week. Will be Colt in the house. Good to see you. Rhonda, good to see you. Angela Willis, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Did I say hello to Rhonda? Rhonda, if I said hello again, you deserve to. Yeah. Yeah, there's it's hard when you lose somebody. There's only, there's not a lot you can say, right?
Right.
I really encouraged B through this process to, really think hard about all the great memories and, try to think of it more as a celebration. I know that is super easy to say.
Right.
And, not so easy to, do. You want to talk about it?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, it sucks, but, there was a point in time where we were hoping that it was going to be better, but she was in the hospital for 11 days. And when we figured out, like, basically when they said, like, we've done all we can, basically, that my sister and my niece and I decided, and my daughter, our daughter, decided that we needed to just make her comfortable. And we did. And she made it hours without the breathing machine. And we knew that we made the right decision. We, And also like there's no need to go back, to do the should have or wish I would have. We made a decision, we were all agreeance on it, and we just moved forward with it. So
Yeah, well, the options for B's mom was to go through a big surgery, which she was very weak. And if she went through that big surgery, she may make it, she may not. That part was an okay exception because she wasn't going to make it that without it. The problem was that if she made it, she would, never eat again, never drink again. Tracheotomy, all of those kinds of things. And
nursing home.
Yeah. And that's not what her mom would have wanted. I want to share some comments with you, B, real quick here. I started them a while ago. Mario says sending big, and I'll just put it on the screen. Says sending big loves and hugs, B. You got a strong man and large shoulders. Make sure you lean on him.
Right. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a couple. There's a lot of people in here. Hugs and prayers. Sorry,
Nah.
I get rid of that. Carrie Davis says, if you want to do anything crazy, B, I'll drive. And what's funny about that comment is she would.
Yeah.
That's the Juby Joe. Welcome in.
My problem is I don't even want to leave the farm.
Yep. Marsha Newsom, how are you? Good to see you.
Hello.
Hamburger, welcome in. Good to see you. And I agree with David here. David, and it's hard to do, but gratitude is the solution. It doesn't take away the pain, but it does help tremendously. And it's I had a long conversation with lots of people about the way I go at these things, and I was talking to my mom a little bit, and we were talking about my dad when I lost him, and I don't want to remember my dad in the hospital. I want to remember all of the crazy, we're working on something, and my dad was a mess. And right.
Oh my gosh, the video from like way back with the horses and the peppermints came up on my feed today. Actually.
Oh, did it?
There's a whole long video of Grandpa with one of the grandkids, and he would go around from stall to stall.
Yeah.
With peppermints, feeding the horses peppermints.
Yeah. He was a mess though. He would we'd be working on something, he'd come out of the shop covered in epoxy. Just, how did you anyway?
Yeah.
But it's really, I think, important to spend time there. Because she's not in pain and she don't know any different. Babe.
No, and she was there at the end. I mean, the infection in her lung. They had said, the surgeon, she said, I can go in there and I can cut her open, basically all the way across her, and clean up. She had 4 or 5 pockets of infection in her lung, and the surgeon said, I can remove it and I can get her through that, but is she strong enough to take it from there? The day 1 after surgery, I want her up and standing, and my mom wasn't standing now. So like, was she? Well, not now, then. Mm-hmm. So, she wasn't standing. She didn't want to get out of the bed. She was in pain. She was clearly in pain. Confused.
Yeah. Rhonda said quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Hey, Harry Ken Hempworth, how are you? Harry says, hello, Paul and I are regular attendees to the podcast. I don't comment unless there's a purpose. We are under the thunderstorm you suffered through earlier. We've had a bunch.
Be safe, friend.
Yeah. Yeah, and her life would have been neatos. Her life, oh my goodness, definitely would have been diminished. But that's still, it's a
it wouldn't have even been. I mean, in high school, I worked as a nursing assistant, I've taken care of tracheotomies and all the stuff that comes along with it, and decubitus ulcers. And she had one for like 2 years because she wouldn't get out of the chair already. So for me to think that, for us to think that she had it in her to go through all of that, and then to want, and then be strong enough to stand up and walk and
But
you know,
live, but
they
live.
were going to have to put 3 tubes in her side for drainage that were the size of the surgeon's thumb. And she said, every time you breathe in and out, I mean, I've never had tubes in my lungs. Apparently it really hurts. So, and then the trach on top of that, and then being in a nursing home, I just don't think that it would have been too much longer anyways. So to make her comfortable was, in our opinion, the most honoring thing that we could do for her.
Yeah, my buddy Jesse, you guys know Callie and Jesse, said to me, and I had not really considered that point all that much, but he said, you know, Tag, it's not just about the quality of life, it's also about the quality of death. And you know, that had a big impact on me. You know,
Yeah.
Jen says, not a good quality of life. Hard decisions are not made easy. Big hug, sister. They got a lot of loves in here, babe.
Yeah.
Lots and lots and lots.
And I wasn't there alone. My sister was there, and our girls were there. And you know, I knew if I needed Rowdy, he would be there in a heartbeat. But it was nice to know I was coming home. I had a family to come home to, and a community that loved me, and people were, you know, calling and sending messages and stopping by and bringing food and all kinds of things. So,
speaking of beautiful people, the beautiful Louise Wesley is in the house tonight. Barbara, good to hear from you too. So sorry to hear about your mom. It's never easy. We had to do the same thing with my mom. Try to think of the positive memories. Yeah, that's what I think too, is that just try to celebrate, you know, hey, the king himself, Jeff, Juicy, Hefty, Lefty. Where did I miss Amazon, Mud Dauber, Slick? Yep, we got them all. Let's make sure I got everybody here. Okay. Oh, probably should move that. But I think, so sport, we're saying that sport structure meant a lot to you?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, being able to come home and know that I was safe and loved and no games. And that means a lot. Now, you know, it's all about the next phase. So it's obituaries and crematories and last wishes, whatever that maybe, if we can fulfill them. And then life insurance. It's a lot of
lots to do.
Yeah, if you can take care of that stuff for your kids, maybe you should do that.
Yeah, get it done ahead of time.
Yeah.
When my aunt died, she
was a mess.
Oh, the worst one I ever went through. And I didn't even know her hardly. I met her a couple times in my life, but there was no one else who could do it. And so I got, what do they call that?
Tasked?
No, the
executor of
her estate. Yeah. And so she had died in Wyoming, and she had a single wide trailer, and she laid there for 3 months with space heaters on before anybody found her. She was a recluse, and then all of a sudden I find out that I have this aunt who's dead, who don't have anything but a mess, and a single wide trailer that's, full of stuff.
And the floor was rotted through.
Yeah. And you got to get the trailer moved. You got to get everything taken off of there. I'm, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And
you're responsible.
And I didn't have to accept the responsibility of, but my mother, who's old, and certainly could not have done it. If I didn't do it, she was going to be forced to.
Right.
So, we had to, kind of go through that. Hippocrates says, I've recommended the TED Talk by Dr. Peter Saul on death and dying many, many times as a hospice nurse. I don't know how you guys do it.
Right.
I don't know how you do it. I would get way too attached. I'd cry every single time. And,
yeah.
And
the doctors were crying with us.
Yeah.
They were trying not to, but it was pretty hard to they're like, but, they're human. They have hearts. Yeah. I know they were feeling it.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. They can sense the love,
Yeah.
and you got.
Well, I mean, my mom's doctor was like, this is, radiology said that this is not going to work. They dropped the ball. He said they dropped the ball. Because it was Friday. And so he said, this was Sunday. He said, I'll put the pigtail tube in. And I'll put the blood thinner in there. But I don't think it's going to work. And it didn't. But he was her doctor from before. Last year we were in here from she aspirated on orange juice and was non-responsive, and this particular doctor brought her back to life. So she was like, oh, he's my savior. He saved my life. And then this particular doctor was like, I've been working with your mom for over a year now. I'll do this, even though radiology said that this is not going to work. I will try it. And so we were just like, of course it's going to work. Of course it's going to work. This is her doctor. It didn't work.
Squatchy says, guys, we were just talking about this long-term care and how we were super fortunate. It was super short. And on a good note, Loper's mom really didn't want the eggs and toast the next day. And David wants to know if you have any brothers or sisters.
My mom has 4 daughters. And then my mom had 3 daughters, and my dad had 3 kids, and then they had me together. So depending upon the day, you ask her, she'll tell you different number of kids, depending upon who's made around. But there's 7 of us.
Nito says, back in April of 2022, my oldest son and I drove to Nevada, from Nevada to Florida. Oh my goodness. For my first mom-in-law, who was hospitalized and passed away before we got there.
That's how my dad passed before I got there.
When my mom died, she also, and also when my husband died, the amount of paperwork was unreal, says Rhonda.
Sorry, Rhonda.
Yeah, it's so crazy to go through it. Everybody goes through it. I mean, everybody in the audience tonight has experienced loss, or the likelihood they have. And
we just got to be strong for our kids, show them, the decision that we were having to make. That's one of the things too. When my dad died, I was so mad that I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to him. And then when the whole situation with my mom, I was like, it was a whole lot easier with my dad because I didn't have to make any decisions. It was just done. But with my mom in the hospital, she was out of it when she was on the pain meds. And then she would every 4 hours, she would come around for 20 minutes. We'd get 20 minutes with her of her talking to us. Not talking, but she would say, I love you, Bethany. And then she would have to breathe a whole lot. And then, so she would have, and then we played some hymnals, and she was just right there singing, singing with them. And then that took a lot of energy and a lot of oxygen from her. So she was out pretty fast.
E.F. Hutton. You know who E.F. Hutton is? He's in the audience tonight. But anyway, he says, E.F. Hutton says, my favorite quote for saying goodbye to your loved one is from Dr. Seuss. Mm-hmm. Don't be sad because it's over. Smile because it happened.
Yep.
Yep, that's amazing. Skanes Girl says, you're so loved. B, I know you will get through this suck with the wonderful support you have. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
That's the thing. When I lost my dad, I realized that it doesn't get any easier. Life doesn't get easier without them around. You just kind of get used to it. You don't call them. You don't write down things you have to talk to them about.
Mm-hmm. I miss my dad every day.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Think about him every day.
Used to it.
Yeah.
You don't get over it.
Yeah. Juby Joe says, when we think we are okay with everything that happens with our loved ones passing, we aren't. We will forever love them and miss their presence. 100%. I think it's about focusing on what you remember them for, and,
Right. Because if all you had were bad memories and you being whooped.
Or if you chose to focus on the last 11 days of her life.
Yeah.
You could focus on that if you wanted to. I could focus on,
change anything.
The VA hospital, killing my father. But instead, what I choose to focus on is him getting covered in epoxy.
Right.
And being
spilling coffee all over the ground.
Super successful.
Spitting gas
in your face on accident.
Diesel fuel. It was diesel fuel, which is even worse, I think.
Yeah. I'm going to focus on those things. I'm not going to focus on those last that last month, because that's not how I'm going to remember him. And I would really encourage you, B, to focus on, those things that you admired her for.
Yeah. No, she had a lot of great qualities.
Yeah. Jen says, having a trust in affairs laid out is super important, especially when your loved ones are grieving. They won't have to make decisions.
Right.
Yeah. Even a basic outline goes a long way. Right? Even just something to say, hey, this is what I want. Carrie Davis says she's with her creator now, no pain.
Right. And my mom was a big Christian. She knew her creator. She knew where she was going. She was, she was ready. She was, I don't know how many times she had said, like, if it happens, I'm ready. I want you to know that. But it still doesn't make it any easier. That's the thing.
Yeah. Instigator said, I had a PT who had been a teacher, professor all of her life. When she came into hospice, she asked what she was supposed to do. Having seen the big family, I just said, teach. While she had time. It's a good quote. Hey, Stan, welcome in. Yeah, Carrie says, keep talking to her. All right. You want to skip some?
Sure.
Like the good news?
I don't know if there's any of that, is there?
Yep. Yep. It's hard. But the good news is she is loved.
Yep.
She is respected. We have a gigantic community around us who's super supportive. We got many, I can't even tell you the numbers of anything I can do. I'll drop everything I'm doing right now and I'll come do it. Just tell me what it is. And, I think sometimes just knowing that they're there.
Yeah.
There was nothing we couldn't handle.
Right. Can I come do chores for you?
Yeah.
And it was, in my opinion, I mean, you had said, even you caught on, you were like, I came home from the hospital. I was there for like 11 hours and I was headed out to do the chores, and he's like, here, I'll come help you. And I'm like, you don't have to. And he's like, no, I'll come help you. That's fine. I know. And he's like, it actually looks like you're having fun out here doing them. And I'm like, I just, this is where I belong, and this is where I have purpose, and these animals need me and I need them. And, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's, I kind of look at a lot of those things very different, but, just like the chores, guys, I know it's going to sound totally weird, but I didn't want to take them from her. She'd been at the hospital all day long, and I'm smart enough to know that sometimes the best thing you can do is get back to what you were doing.
Yeah.
Right? Spend a little time especially in the case of your animals, because you're surrounded in all this new life.
Well, then it also took my time or my energy away from what, the sorrow, the hurt, the heartbreak.
Mm-hmm.
It was the new life that I get to see in the what Tag has now named T-Bone and Tallow, all on his own. So we now have.
I don't remember who did it, but someone on the live named him T-Bone and Tallow.
Really?
Yeah, I just went with it.
So, just being out there and getting to see him and getting to see that my coconut oil worked, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. Just
silly little things like that. How many flies are on the fly trap? Wow, that really worked.
Yeah. No. Super good stuff. Carrie Davis says, okay, let's talk Trump and Elon. All good things to those who wait. Yeah. Instigator said, when my dad died, when my sister died, what I remember someone doing was polishing my shoes for the funeral. That's those little things.
Yeah.
Jen says, so I made some Rocky Road ice cream. We just had some Rocky Road ice cream on there, didn't we?
Yep. American Roots made some Rocky Road and some candied pecans and caramel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mario Poison checked that the recipe is tested for our next gathering.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Chores can be cathartic. Yeah. Amber says, my mom was born on Elvis's birthday. After she passed, the lights in my truck would flash when an Elvis song came on the radio. I love stuff like that.
That's cool.
Hey, Sharpshooter's in the house. How you doing, buddy? Yeah, Nito said the chores helped her work through what was in her mind, clear her head, and concentrate on something else. 100%. Yep. And Lazy Loper for the win. Rocky Road is the best. So I think the best ice cream, there's two. And I have a hard time depending upon which one's my favorite that I bounce between. But
vanilla?
No, that's you. What are your two favorite ice creams?
And something with nuts.
Yep.
Nutty caramel.
Yeah. I like Rocky Road and pistachio almond.
Pistachio is pretty good.
Yeah. Mint
Rocky
chocolate chip
Road
there too.
is Rocky Road. Marshmallow in it?
I'm not a big marshmallow fan, but yeah, mint chocolate I like a lot, Starla. That's good stuff.
Is that your favorite? Mint chocolate?
American Root says bees nuts.
Bees nut. Has caramel.
They made a ice cream and they named it bees nuts.
Mm-hmm.
So we have our own ice cream. It's called bees nuts.
Yes. It is delightful. It has extra nuts. Candied nuts.
Squatchy says Rocky Road, I lame. Moose Tracks way better. That you clearly just proved you're lame.
Is lame.
No, it says I. It said no, it says I.
We knew what he meant.
This is important right here.
We knew it.
This is important.
We got you.
All right, babe. What you got? Unless you want to talk about this on the farm.
Besides all the baloney.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working on cleaning out the greenhouse. Needing to get everything out. Everything that's in there does need to be in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then just came over and we planted the corn today. We planted the one that's like yellow and white, the Bai corn. It's a sweet corn. We planted 6 rows of.
I got some pictures.
64 feet long.
Mm-hmm. I got some.
And then when she wasn't looking, I'd put a couple here and there. She was like, "Are you creating another row?" And I was just on this hump where it pops out, and she goes, "She did." It's just whatever, do whatever. Like clearly, I'm gonna. And then, of course, if they fell out of my hand, I just left them.
Dave said, I grew up on hand crank ice cream. Did I mention I was a fat child? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Brett Boyd, welcome in. Good to see you.
Just working on clearing out the greenhouse. Everything's have potato bugs on the potatoes still. I have been up numerous times, and Jess has stopped numerous times and got what we could get off of there, but I actually went and got the Milwaukee vacuum from your shop, and I think I'm going to try to suck the bugs off with the vacuum.
That'd be good.
Before I just have not broke down yet and sprayed them yet. It's probably coming very soon though. We got to fill in some of the tomatoes and peppers were either dead or just plain missing. So we got to fill in some of the holes with some of the stuff that was over at the community buildings. There were still some peppers over there from our gifted plants. And what else? Got to get up and put hay over the potato mound. Corn. Over the corn. The potatoes already have hay on them. The sweet potatoes, we do need to plant a little bit more sweet potatoes. We have 3 jars of slips that need to go in the ground. And I think there's a little bit of herbs.
But you pretty much got everything posted. Everything posted, planted. Right.
There's a few things left. The tobacco. So I left the bucket of tobacco seeds, all of them, in the greenhouse, and water got into the bucket. And so I felt like I had to plant everything. So I took all of the tobacco seeds and put them into a tray. And now I have an entire tray of tobacco, and I have started another tray of tobacco. So I have got at least double the amount of tobacco that I wanted to plant.
Hey, Brett Boyd says, isn't there a BT spray that's organic?
Yeah, there's all kinds of sprays that are organic that I have looked into.
We just try not to use any of that stuff. We try to do it the old way, the best that we can. But there's times where you're gonna lose them all if you don't do something, right? So, Jen says, I saw a thing that said geraniums are a great trap crop for Japanese beetles. Those will be coming soon. Yeah, I have a great Japanese beetle trap that works freaking fabulous, huh? We get 6-gallon buckets full of them.
So I have 3 geraniums that I need to plant. So I'll go plant them in a specific spot to put the buckets.
Oh, great idea.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay, got it. Yeah, and that'll help bring them in. That'll be good. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
And then in that garden, I was able to put, not AI, Jess helped me put there. I have chicken wire all the way around in that garden, but the chicken wire on the inside kind of like rolled up, and there were rabbits coming underneath the chicken wire. And so I was able to stake down areas where I couldn't get, and like where there was nothing, like no chicken wire, where I could roll down and put something, right? Where it was just barely at the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were some poles back behind the garden, and I took them and put them, I had Jess help me put them along the perimeter of the fence to keep the fence pinned down to the ground so that the rabbits couldn't come out from underneath the fence. Because it sucks. You go and you put all of this work into getting the garden ready, getting the seeds started, putting the plants in the ground, and then you come back and then the whole plant is gone, or it's just, you could tell it's been like cut or chewed, and it's just laying there, and it's not going to make it because the majority of it is down. And it's pretty frustrating, which is why, man, it's like a fight everywhere.
Brett says wild rabbit tastes good. Our guardian dogs love them.
Man, they're getting them all over the place too.
Yeah. They kill them almost every day. Some kind of rabbit.
And it sounds horrible.
Yeah, but
they take them and they like run off with them. And then you're like, man, there they go. Ouch, that hurt.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hey, my buddy Mo Engineer's in the house. Mo, how are you, my friend? What else you got, Pumpkin?
That was about it in the garden. I need to get out and get everything else, of course, weeded and gone through. There's always seeds that you can be putting out. So always something to do. Spent time with Rowdy's mom this week. Had to take her cat to the vet and get her groceries. That was fun.
I have such a good wife, huh? She just takes care of everybody.
And she has kittens available if anybody would like kittens of all different sizes, because apparently there is like wild cats in this neighborhood that they just keep producing.
Yeah. Well, if she wouldn't feed them, they wouldn't stick around so much.
She loves them. She just wants them to have a good home. you know, they just keep having them. And she sees this one cat that continues to have different kittens. And she's like, oh no, that stinks.
Yep, unless you got to feed them. Nito's had a funny comment. They were talking about crickets coming everywhere up there, and they said west of here there are so many on the roads that they actually become slippery when vehicles running over them.
Oh my goodness.
Could you imagine?
That would be horrible.
Yeah, Skane's girl said my bee kills rabbits also, but she dreams of being a squirrel dog. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, something else I got. Jess, I got her.
You want to talk about time management?
What?
Go ahead, keep telling your story.
I got talked Jess into taking my incubator home, one of them, and she has 90 eggs in there now. So we may be growing more chickens and turkeys and guineas, I think. I just there was a natural nest we found. We were walking down or you had said that there was some feathers on the back dam, and she and I walked down there, and you could see like a big pile of them, and then a scatter of them, and then at the end of the scatter, it kind of went down the bank of the dam, and we walked down there, and there was a nest of eggs down there, of turkey eggs, and then a little bit farther was a couple, and a little bit farther there was a couple, and so we were gathering eggs. The ones that were not broken, there were 6 that were not broken. So she took those and took them home. And then last night I found another natural nest inside of a sheep shed or calf hut, I guess. And we gathered those. There were 10 turkeys and 1 guinea egg. Those are not in an incubator because I have an incubator going that's full, and she has an incubator that's now going that's full. And I was trying to talk her into today taking another incubator, but she didn't bite. She said, what about putting one at the community building? And so I asked Tag, what about putting one at the community building? And he's like, well, that's fine, but you got to go down there and make sure it's not beeping and tend to it, take care of it.
Yeah, and you won't be there to hear it beep. The one that you got that you do all the time, you hear it beep, you do something about it.
And it beeps every day.
Yeah, that's right. So, Juby Joe said, I couldn't love you anymore, B. Just sharing your story and loss makes me feel more, and I'm thankful so much.
Thank you.
We want to welcome in MJ from Wisconsin. What's going on? Lazy Loper says our cats hunt and catch those rescue rabbits. Yep, our dogs do a great job of it. They get them most days when we're out there working. They're getting several of them sometime during the day. Then they head off squealing, Danny Green says I have to close the live and reopen it every time a commercial comes on. Been every 5 minutes tonight. Irritating. Yep.
Yikes.
Sorry, I don't have any control over that. I wish they would just not do it. But anyway, they don't like me very much anyway, so I don't know what to say. I don't know if anybody else is having that problem, Dana, or if it's just you, but anyway.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's not good. Hopefully it gets better.
Yep.
Oh, the turkey that I believe that was captured on the back dam, I believe that it was taken by a bird of some kind. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. Hey, Julia Withers, hello from Washington, D.C.
That's about it.
I bet that's an interesting place these days. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's going on the farm? Share some pictures. So there's Tallow and T-Bone. There's the babies. And
are they playing?
Yeah, they were just playing button heads, running around. The bigger one on the right, that's Tallow. The smaller one is T-Bone. They're a week apart. And I don't know who even recommended Tallow and T-Bone from the live, but that's why I called them Tallow.
So
and T-Bone.
the T-Bone is the darker one?
Tallow's the darker one, the bigger one. That's Tallow right there.
Okay.
That's T-Bone. So Tallow belongs to Lady. T-Bone belongs to Moo.
Yep.
Right? So they're awful cute. So we'll just raise them, and that will be freezer for 2026, maybe.
7 because they're 2 years old, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be a year and 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
They'll be pretty close to 2 years at that time. But anyway, yep, pretty cool. Yeah, Juby Joe, if they were yours, this is a question just for you, just because I know you'll love this question. If they were yours, how would you have the meat cut up?
I thought you were gonna say what would you name them. Come on now. I'll wash his mouth out later with Carrie Davis soap.
Yep. Hey, Dave and Sonia, Michigan. Good to see you. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Brett Boyd said, unless you grain fed. Yeah, and they spend most of their time in the field. They do get a little bit of grain. She gives them black sunflower seeds, a little bit of sweet feed, some oats, some alfalfa pellet. Yep. A little bit here and there, but yeah, Juby Joe says not. I knew that would be your answer, just so you know. But hey, Terminator, how are you? I don't know if I said hi to you or not yet. Yeah, Tamber says steaks, hamburger, round steak, and beef tips. Yeah. Pork.
Hi, what do you do with your round steak, Tambra?
Cook it.
No, like what? Just how?
So you want to talk about with this picture?
This is
this your corn.
Corn. I'm planting. Yeah, we are planting corn. Yeah. We got 6 rows here.
Yeah, tell them why you put the string down there. Because
So
I wouldn't. I just put a hole.
So, and that's what, yeah. So Jess said, do we need the string? And I was like, yes, we need the string. Have you ever seen my makeshift lines or would be all over the place?
Just in time. How are you? And the comment is just in time. Says I agree. Great names. Tallow will taste great. Yeah. Bone broth. Tenderize it. Simmer in gravy or sauce. Grill that round steak. Oh, that's cool. Tag, my son bought me a truckload of rhubarb plants. I love that.
Good grief. Wow.
Yeah. Pocket says, hate it when I plant straight rows and the sun goes and warps them. And Brett says, grill it like a steak.
The sun does warp them.
Yeah. And so there they are. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Following the string. You didn't know I took that picture, did you?
No.
Yeah.
I thought you were coming to talk to us and then you just left.
Yeah. No, I was just driving by. I wanted to get a picture, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Nito says B likes nice straight lines. Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
We were
Juby Joe says if they were mean cows, I would have T-bones year round. They are not. They're very nice. They actually love on you.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah.
They're good.
Yeah. Jen wants to know what kind of corn you planted.
Some white and yellow bicorn.
Bicorn
Bi something. It was bicolored.
I was just going to ask you to define what bi meant in corn.
2 different colors.
You've lost. No. Okay.
Okay. No.
I finally got all my tomato and pepper plants out between the rainstorms so I can water like heck later on. Yep. Good stuff. Welcome in, Wanda.
Well, I pray for rain for you.
Yeah. See, here's your tomatoes. Remember we were talking about them last week about the leaves being a little bit curled?
Yeah.
They don't seem to be as curled.
So I think that they're better, but
they're getting taller.
They're up 3 runs.
Yep. And I took these pictures today. So they're getting bigger. And they'll grow all the way up that arch up there. By the end of the year, she'll be picking them all the way at the top, which is super, super cool. Amber says, it don't matter if the rows are straight as long as you make veggies. See, this I agree. Yeah, Dave and Sonia say hugs and prayer be.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you very, very much. This is the other side of that arch. There's some short ones in the front, but some of them in the back.
Yeah, some of those in the front we just transplanted.
Oh, because you had some that didn't make it.
Yeah. And then there's marigolds in there and cilantro and basil, purple and green.
Brett wants to know, do you have a drip on your tomatoes?
No.
Nope, we try to cover them all up in hay so it maintains the moisture. But even last year, we had a hot year last year. Brett, we watered 3 times.
I think so. And it was real close to when we first planted them. After they get established, you really don't have to.
Yeah. I think you don't have to if you keep mulch on them, right? You keep the water trapped in there,
Yeah, there's all kinds of we've put paper or the landscaping fabric on there. We've put hay on there. We have mended.
It looks like you need some more hay.
Probably. I mean, we could use some everywhere, really.
I spent my time, I got the poles and the first row of fencing in all the way around the food forest.
It looks great.
So it is dog proof, but it is not rabbit proof. Okay. Brett says if you do a drip, they won't crack as bad after a rain. Yeah. Juby says Dad kept some cows for a guy and they jumped the fence, went to Highway 41 and L&N Railroad, hit a couple. That may be why we had T-bones for a year. Yeah, this is super, super cool. I'm super happy about the fence. When we came out from our hibernation from the winter and got back up into the food forest, because you're not up there during the winter at all, you get up there and walk around. We lost a bunch of trees this year to deer and to rabbits and whatever. And so one of our goals this year, my goal was to get her a fence all the way around. Now the poles are tall because I'm going to put a double row of fencing in. I'm going to make it hard for them to get in there because, man, we have invested a ton of time and money and things into building our food forest. And I'll show you guys some more pictures of it, but to be constantly losing it because of rabbits and stuff. And, it's so crazy. Like they make nests underneath the horseradish patch, like inside the center of it, or the elderberry patches or whatever it is. Mo wants you to know that Wallapeenies are rabbit proof.
Oh yeah. We don't have Wallapini time right now.
Yeah. No, and I'm so glad you feel that way. Yeah.
My irons are all in the fire. Yeah,
there you can see the fence just a little bit. So I used steel posts at the corners, mainly just because I had them. I bought it at an auction. And then I used wood for everything else.
Yeah.
But you guys can see kind of down through the food forest, all those bushes of green. That's all food of some kind, or trees, or or whatever it is. Terminator said, Tag, you cheated. I did a video of me pulling out an old post and putting a new one in by hand while fixing the fencing by my barn. Well, how did I cheat? I did the same thing you did, except I just didn't pull out an old one. I don't know how I cheated.
She probably did it with her hands, and you probably used the skillet or drove the auger.
Yeah.
She was.
Brett Boy says, night vision and a good cocktail, then rabbit stew, a lot cheaper. Yeah, and you know what? If I had the patience to do that, I own some nice night vision. But Justine Stanley, how are you? Welcome in. Absolutely adore B shorts. Oh, she's an amazing animal whisperer. The shorts you put out during the week.
Oh,
you put any out this week?
How do you see my shorts?
No, shorts, YouTube shorts.
Yeah, my shorts.
Yep, Jen says, looks good. Protect that land. Yeah, for sure.
Protect all that hard work.
Yep. And Terminator is badass. Yeah, there's no doubts there. Gratitude to Grace says bone sauce from Pasture Farms keeps deer away from fruit trees and other plants. Not sure about rabbits. Yeah, we'll put some on some of these outer poles. Maybe we have some from Billy and see how it goes. But I'm real big on trying to create less maintenance, not more maintenance. And so, although putting up a fence with these big poles, it was a lot of work. Every one of those
poles, the cows out of there too.
Yeah, every one of those
dogs out.
Those poles are 3 foot in the ground, and there's 3 bags of concrete in every hole, and all the way around that whole area. So it was a bunch of work. But again, I'm hoping we just get to deal with it one time. Betsy De La Rosa, welcome in. Good to see you. Yeah, David says so green. Oh yeah, just wait till July and August, when this thing's completely exploded. Because there's a lot of plants that are, knee high right now that will be head high when it's all said and done. But a lot of it has been going really good. That's from inside the fence. There's every one of those mounds is just full of different types of food and other things, grass.
And and there's stuff that shouldn't be in there as well. But
yeah, but it's just part of it.
Right there there's my gosh. Cosmos.
Yep.
That's the Cosmos. And then there's in that little rack right there is
Right there.
the wisteria. No, it's not wisteria. It's a lilac.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff. I see an apple tree. There's a cherry tree. There's all kinds of stuff in there.
Comfrey.
Yeah.
Then the other end is all the
Here, I'll blow it up so if you guys get a better picture here. Try to.
The oregano and catmint and the yarrows are all on there.
On that first swell?
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
Look at all those white flowers.
They're beautiful. Those are all elderberries, right?
Yeah, I asked Jess, if she's going to have freezer room for elderberries because that is going to be a tremendous amount of elderberries. And I was giving them away last year. I didn't know what all to do with them.
Yeah, it's getting prettier and prettier and prettier. Terminator says, Tag, you're doing an amazing job putting the fencing and making everything look amazing. That's all B, Terminator. Yeah, Juby Joe says, cow babies, I watch them over and over. Makes me happy. You know what's funny is her cows she loves them too, don't you? She's always out there scratching them and,
Oh, yeah, the cows.
Yep. Brett Boyd says, Tag, run a double electric fence that will keep deer out and the lower will keep the rabbits out. Yeah, so what we were thinking about doing, let me go back a picture. Tell me what you think about this, Brett. Okay, is to run 4 feet of chicken wire over the top of this fence. And then I was just going to run like 4 strands of barbed wire across the top, or maybe even just a whole nother field fence across the top. Get way there. At the top of those poles is probably 7 feet because their poles are 3 feet deep and that's a 10-foot pole. So it'd be about 7 feet tall, and then I don't have to worry about anything.
What about a raccoon?
Breaking or any of that kind of stuff. Well,
squirrel.
Raccoons got hands like you do. That's the problem with them, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Tamber says it has greened up. Yep. Just wait till July. It'll be amazing. When I say double, I mean 2 separate fences, 2 feet apart. Deer won't jump on the middle. Oh, yes. I've heard this. Just takes up more space. Yeah. And Skane's girl says, oops. Tamber says a couple strands of barbed wire. Yeah. Skane's girl says, please, sir, more elderberries. Yep. Nito says, I found a yarrow locally that's called Moonshine. Has beautiful golden yellow flowers. Attracts bees like crazy.
Yeah.
That bee was just pulling a bunch of yarrow and sending it to another homestead yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
You just pull it right out of the ground. We have been blessed with yarrow in lots of places here.
Tim Riley says, evening all, y'all getting ostriches? Yep. Nope. We're trying to keep the deer out. And in my house, there's something fierce.
The deer, the dog, the rabbit.
Yeah. Right now, it's only dog proof, but because I got to get a whole nother road to do. But there's mornings we wake up and literally right out our back door, 8 feet out our back door, there's deer eating. And so, although I love that, they cannot have my food forest. It's been too much work, in my opinion, to get.
At least, I mean, it's one thing to put it out into the forest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's one thing, but these are like the mother plants. This is where we get all of the other stuff. This is where we are able to do most of the breaking apart and
it's the nursery. It's where you grow everything.
Nursery. I like that.
Yeah, it's the nursery. B and I were talking, and I had an idea about building a guinea coop inside the food forest and letting the guineas run wild in there. Because I think they'd be less destructive on your plants, but yet would help you keep the bugs down.
Little bannies would be okay.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? I don't understand. With the fence you're building, just back 2 to 3 feet and then put up a poly fence. Yeah, and I could do that if probably, but
so just put up a second fence.
Yeah.
Pick up more space that way.
Cameron says Billy Bone Sauce works. I've heard that. I've heard that from a lot of people. Yep, Skane's girl says hot wire the top, or she wants to. Or Mr. Big Money, go for it. Laugh my ass out. Mr. Big Money, go. I don't understand. You lost me.
Putting the second fence up, maybe?
No. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. No, they will eat your plants. A guinea will eat your plants?
I'm not sure.
Mo says, have you considered deer proofing with a higher fence the perimeter of the entire property? I don't want to deer proof the whole property. I just want to deer proof the food forest. But funny Mo. Mo's just always trying to get me in trouble. And it
It would
works
be
a
kind
lot.
of cool though, Mo. I suggest we do that.
Yeah, no.
Let's follow Mo's idea.
The guineas at John's at SOE don't seem to beat up the trees as much as the chickens do. I know the chickens will. Yep. Tamber says all birds will eat your plants. You know, the chickens and the guineas get in there now, right? Because, well, it
was open.
It's open. Well, it was open. And the chickens would scratch stuff up.
They just go into a whole patch or a whole swell and pull all of the mulch off of the plants. So in the horseradish, for example, you could actually see part of the root because the chicken would go up to it and just pull everything away. And then it's on the bottom of the swell. I'd have to go in there and like shovel it back in, rake it back in, and then move it around the plants because now the plants are significantly tall. So it's like if I could keep the chickens out of there. I haven't seen the guineas really do that kind of destruction.
Yeah, and I just wonder if they'd hurt the fruit trees, if they'd get a hold of the fruit, if they would. I don't know.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm not either.
I guess it depends on what it is because I bet if you put strawberries out there, the guineas would eat them.
Yeah, probably. All right. Well, that's what's going on the farm. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to an auction, right? And we got to drive up to the auction today and just kind of go through it. And B took some pictures.
Yeah, it was nice to get out of the house and just think about something totally different.
Brett said you can spend as much or as less as you want. Electric is cheap. All those add-ons you're talking about are money and more money. I know, right? I know everything's money, Brett. And it's I wanted to try to create permanent fixes, but I'm only buying it one time or very mild.
There's less upkeep, I think, on an electric you putting a second fence up and then just walking away. I think.
I don't know, babe. That's to get around that thing is it's 1,000 feet all the way around it. So
yeah, but if you put another fence on the outside of it, it's the same square foot.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying is that's 1,000 feet. So that's $750 in fencing alone.
And then poles.
And then you got to put poles in.
Right. You might as well just use the poles that you got and just put it high.
Hey, sons of hack, how are you? Freesteader, good to see you. Freesteader said, joined late and restarted from the beginning, so I just heard condolences be to your moms, many loved ones. Thank you very much. Yep, Wanda says, I had a problem with an opossum and I soaked some old rags with vinegar and threw them around the place. Had to re-soak them every once in a while, but no more opossums. Interesting. I didn't know that. Oh, cool. Mo says, no auction for me tomorrow. He's going to Dancing Rabbit Eco Village. Good for you. I hope you get a whole bunch of woo-woo.
Yeah.
Yep. I do. All right. So to the auction. You're the one that took the pictures, so.
Well, this was a manure spreader. And I know that's something that we had talked about getting. So there were just a couple of things that I took pictures of that I was like, oh, hey, look. Cool. Manure spreader.
So you're interested in a manure spreader?
Always interested in a manure spreader.
Okay.
There were some nice tanks up there. I'm not sure how big those are, but they're significant. Those green ones. Then there's a little square baler that looked to be in pretty darn good shape.
That's not a square baler. That's a round baler.
I took the wrong picture then.
That's a round baler.
Then I took the wrong picture. Sorry.
You're all good.
There is a square baler there, though.
Yeah, Brett says, I run deer plots. They change every year. The deer will eat them up, but I choose movable rather than going broke doing permanent. Got it. So I actually wouldn't mind getting some more tanks. Those are always valuable.
What would you said that you like those tubes.
Those things are like 4 feet diameter culvert pipes.
What would you do that?
Well, I might make one of them a slide for the kids area at the community building. I might just bury one a little bit in the ground and give them something to play on, to run through, right? I don't know. If I can get one of them bought cheap, then
You
it'd be
can
worth
connect
it.
them together and make your slip and slide.
I could. I don't know. Yeah, they'd have to go awful cheap for me to justify buying every one of those.
There's only 4.
Yep.
I'm not sure how many feet that would be.
Yeah.
Probably not enough.
And then B's been looking for a mower.
Yeah, I
For
just
the
took a
fur
picture
tractor.
of a.
That one seemed to be pretty decent, I think. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell this story. This story's funny. Hey, Mo wants to know, is the Holton auction soon? I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but it'd be in June. It'd probably be in June or July. So
This was the corner of one of the fences.
I'll look it up. While she's talking, Mo, I'll look it up for you real quick.
Where Tag had put the fence, the corner, he had wrapped the wire around it, but then left the 2 pieces kind of hanging there, because so it's not necessarily attached right there. It's just kind of together. And a turkey went in and got kind of stuck in this little circle where the 2 ends were just looped over each other, and the turkey went in there and was having a panic attack. And I walked in there, crawled into there, tried to grab her, and her feathers just like pooped off of her, and I had to grab her again, and it was amazing how those feathers just came right off of her. I grabbed her and walked her around, got her out of the orchard so that she could get back to where she needed to be. This fence was just so new that she had not figured out that she couldn't get through there right now. So
Mo, June 10th.
Tag comes up and he's like, "Oh no, you have a whole bunch of feathers over here." And I'm like, "I did it." And he goes, "No, over here at the orchard." And I said, "I did it." And he goes, "What?" I was like, I did that, trying to get the turkey out of there.
Yeah, I want to put the corner brace in before I tighten that fence, which is why I didn't secure that corner. I just wrapped it up. So, right.
I've not ever done something like that.
Yeah.
So no, but
Louise says, Tag, we can bid and split on the chores. I wouldn't mind having 1 or 2 of them, but we'll just see how it goes, because there's a chance those things would bring $1,000 a piece, and I ain't interested anywhere near that. So,
whew.
Yep. Just in time says, much love. Catch you on the flip side.
Be safe.
Yep. Nice mower. Yeah, mower is probably on the top of my list. Great cold material.
Helps us get farther.
Yeah. Yep. David says, panic. Yeah, totally panicked. Hey, one step closer. How are you? Good to see you. So
yeah, he panicked.
Yeah, clear panic. Don't forget July the 5th, we're gonna have the Freedom Fest out here, and fireworks and all those good things. I hope I get to see a lot of you out there. Everything's free.
Bring your sauce to enter.
Oh yes,
barbecue sauce.
Yep. And we're gonna do the first ever Homestead Olympics. I have no idea what that looks like, but we'll figure it out.
And a pie walk. So
Yeah.
if you'd like to enter into the pie walk, then you better bring a pie.
Yeah, and I just learned that you don't actually walk with the pie much. Right. So
Fireworks show beginning after dark.
Jen once says, aren't you supposed to wait until Butcher Day to pluck the turkeys?
Yes.
In theory, yeah.
I did not know that was going to happen like that. I thought that I would just be able to grab her like Sarah and Nara and just put my hand
Oh, I think we're back. Something happened. All right, I think I got you guys now. I think so. It says, I will bring multiple pies, said Skane's girl. Jane said, oh, I wish I was closer. Yeah, did my internet quit? Well, somebody's internet quit. Where'd you go? I don't know. I hope you guys are all back, because I'm back. Guess who's back? Oh, I need to probably load my good news stuff too, huh? I had already loaded it. Ah, you are back. Yep, they're back. I have no idea what happened. But what it did do is it erased all of my slides. That's not no good, right? No, that's all right, though. We'll get it right. Yeah, I don't know what happened. I wonder if I already did that one. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm trying to get all my information back and see if I got all my slides all done. Oh, yeah, one more. Anyway, I think we were right there, right?
Yep.
Yep. So that's good. Hopefully we didn't, no video here. Chat is still streaming. Well, I hope you got video now, Squatchy. On my end, it looks good now, and it didn't for a little bit. There you are. All right. Anyway, I hope to see you guys for July the 5th. Should be a lot of fun and should be exciting. Also, this week, there is some other things that went on that I think are important to mentioning. Don't forget, this is the anniversary of D-Day. And regardless of what everybody thinks about the government or thinks about politicians or all of that, many of those men and women gave everything so that we had the right to stand up and criticize our government. And I don't want to take it lightly. And, kids, some young as 15 years old, storming the beaches of a foreign land, and over 10,000 of them would perish, and not make it home. And that was 81 years ago, Isn't that amazing? 81 years ago. Jen says, wasn't sure if the Starlink gave up and Elon pulled the plug. He's decommissioning the Dragon. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Yeah, Juby Joe's, that's Normandy. Yeah. And, they gave a lot. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed it out that, this is, a day to, as we talked about with B's mom, but to celebrate their, heroics, and their sacrifice and, those kinds of things, because without the greatest generation ever, this world would be a very, very different place.
My mom was 81.
Yep. She was, when's her birthday?
4/20/44.
So 2 months, she was born 2 months before the invasion of Normandy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Kansas, we had some
incredible
serious flooding go on. Not where we live in the bottom part of the state down by Wichita. There were some places down there that got 10 inches of snow in the matter of, a day. And so they had flash flood warnings. And you can see, I saved a bunch of pictures for you guys of all and this is not a normal place that gets flooded.
Yeah.
This is super abnormal. I'm thankful that the abnormal tornado year, because we've had a lot of tornadoes, just hasn't been Kansas, but it seems like we've had more tornadoes than usual, way more rain than usual. Yeah, all rain, Nitos, all rain. On this day, my papa at 17 was the second wave on the beach. Yeah. Yeah. I respect those, people so much. It's funny to listen to the stories about people, committing suicide because they couldn't go serve their country. And now we've got, that generation eating Tide Pods, and what a
it is
matter.
A different generation.
Well, but babe, think about a matter of 7 generations, 7 decades, I guess, not necessarily 7 generations, but in 7 decades, they've completely destroyed all of that in 7 decades, just, yeah. Absolutely crazy. Juby Joe says brother passed and his wife remarried, family compound on Normandy. Yeah, get some more pictures here. So if you guys look, that's street flooding on June the 3rd, 2025. And again, this is in a place, the very first picture you guys see. I don't know. I'm sorry, not that picture. Go back. Was it one other picture? Oh, maybe it's in a different picture. No. Anyway, one of these was Broadway Street, which is a absolute main thoroughfare, but David said, "Are you closer to Topeka?" Yeah, but I'm 30 miles north of Topeka, way closer to Topeka. Wichita's 3 hours from me, all the way to the other side of the state. For me. And we cannot get the live go without remembering John Heemeyer. I don't know if you guys know this story or not, but for any of you guys who don't know, June the 4th would be the anniversary for Killdozer. And you know that story?
Yeah.
Very well. Yeah. So
Not very well, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So this guy got pushed around by a city and a bunch of good old boys, and he, tried to go through the legal means and just got shut down. They took his livelihood from him. So he went in a shop, welded up a bunch of armor on a bulldozer, and leveled the town. Nobody died, but certainly a lot of damage was caused. And as Sons of Hack says, hard times make strong men make easy times make soft men, and soft men make hard times. Absolutely true. And if you're curious about his story, I thought I would just kind of share it with you for any of you guys that don't know. On June the 4th of 2019, it's the 15th anniversary of Killdozer's rampage through Granby, Colorado. Sit down, kids, and let me tell you a tale, they say. A tale about a reasonable man driven to do unreasonable things. Marvin Heemeyer was a man who owned a muffler shop in Granby, Colorado. The city council ordained to approve the construction of a concrete factory in the lot across from Marvin's shop. In the process, this blocked the only access road to the muffler shop. Marvin petitioned to stop the construction to no avail. He petitioned to construct a new access road and even bought the heavy equipment to do so himself, but he was again denied. The concrete factory went up in disregard to the ramifications of Marvin's business. To add insult to injury, the factory construction disconnected the muffler shop from the city sewer lines. An indifferent city government then chose to fine Marvin for this. His business and livelihood were ruined. Rather than lie down and die, Marvin chose to fight back. Over the course of a year and a half, Marvin secretly outfitted a bulldozer he bought to save his business. So, earlier they were talking about how he bought the heavy equipment.
Yep.
Okay, so he took this bulldozer and used 3 foot, it wasn't 3 foot thick steel. I guarantee it wasn't 3 foot thick steel, but that's what the story says. It was probably three inch. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Concrete
Thick steel and concrete armor, camera systems, and enclosed bulletproof glass. On June the 4th of 2004, Marvin Heemeyer lowered the armor shelf over top of himself, entombing himself in the Killdozer to make his last stand. He burst forth from the walls of the muffler shop and straight into the concrete factory that ruined his business. Over the course of the next several hours, Marvin drove his Killdozer through 13 buildings owned by those officials that had wronged him, including the city council building itself. SWAT teams swarmed the dozer, but it proved immune to small arms fire and even explosives. Another heavy piece of machinery was even brought in to fight the Killdozer, but it too fell to the dozer's righteous fury. In the end, Marvin Killdozer became trapped in one of the buildings it was built to destroy. Marvin chose to take his life, the only life he took that day. And this person says, today we go on to celebrate Killdozer Day and Marvin Heemeyer, the last great American folk hero, a man driven to the brink who chose to fight back against an indifferent system. From notes left behind after his passing, he said, and I quote, "I was always willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things." So I don't know if you guys are familiar with that story, but
yeah.
I think it's a pretty interesting story, and that obviously happened this week. Let's see here. Stan Gunther apparently had a tornado.
Oh no.
Yep. Okay.
Paul as well.
Yep. I hope everyone's still here. Let's get rid of that. Oh, this one. Oh my goodness. Yeah, Jane says sorry about your mom.
Thanks.
Yep. So anything about the farm you want to talk about before we get into the good news for the day?
No.
Nope. You good to go?
Good to go.
All right.
Good to go.
All right. Well,
What do you got?
I got all kinds.
I'm hoping that you got something that we can take our minds off of.
I have so much good news for you, and there's nothing to worry about. You happy to hear that? It says it's good. All right. Now it says we're back. Anyway, okay. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but let's go back a little bit into time. Let's go back to May the 30th of 2025 when Lindsey Graham, he says, is that when bulldozers became classified as an assault weapon? Yeah, pretty much. So anyway, Lindsey Graham and a bunch of his buddies, and the buddies are Blumenthal, Pompeo. Remember Pompeo for Trump's first administration? Anyway, they went over and met with Zelensky on May the 30th of 2025. So that's 6 days ago, right? And so they went, and it looked like they were, advising the U.S. or the Ukraine for the U.S., but they did it on, taxpayer dollars. They say they spent over $1 million flying over there to have a conversation with Zelensky. And there's some thoughts that he went over there to sabotage peace talks because, at the time, there's a lot of peace talks going on between Ukraine and Russia and those kinds of things. So anyway, they go visit Zelensky, and then 24 hours later, Ukraine attacks Russia's nuclear triad. Coincidence? Hard to tell. If they knew, they would be in deep trouble. But this attack is Russia's Pearl Harbor, a lot of people are saying. So basically, and I'll read you guys a lot of posts about this, but basically, they did a surprise drone attack out of the back of cargo trucks, basically. They flew and destroyed, depending on whose number you believe, up to 40 or 50 nuclear bombers, nice. Fighter jets, stuff like this, which is a big, gigantic blow to Russia. I'm back. What is going on? That is so weird. Typically, I have great internet, but must not be tonight. Yeah, Carrie Davis says, no coincidence ever. Brett Boyd says, Lindsey needs to go. He's the last of the Warhawks. Well, just out of curiosity, yeah, why is it that Trump endorses him for the 2026 reelection? Just out of curiosity, Brett.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about what actually happened, because this is big news, right? Ukraine just pulled off one of the most daring strikes in modern warfare history. They showed footage. Basically, again, a semi-truck pulled up. These drones launched out of the top, flew.
Can you see them?
Oh, yeah, I got the pictures in another slide of what they actually did. Now, they said that some people are saying that this is the greatest intel operation in history. Took 1.5 years to plan. Ukraine drones reached all the way into Siberia. 34% of the strategic aircraft were hit. Russia's losses are estimated to be at $7 billion. Shocked Russians looking on as Ukrainian drone after another fly towards the already burning Russian airbase. 41 Russian military planes were destroyed in a coordinated attack against 5 Russian air bases. So they attacked 5 Russian bases simultaneously at the exact same time. And many of them were strategic bombers and an AEWC aircraft, which is basically like AWACS, like our AWACS, radar planes, basically. Ukraine executives' unprecedented covert strike on Russian military bases in a bold display of military innovation. Ukraine reportedly destroyed 41 Russian youth bombers, some 4,400 kilometers away from its border. So they're attacking way deep into Russia. What losses did Ukraine inflict upon Russia, they asked. Ukraine authorities claim, and this is Ukraine authorities, that 40 aircraft were hit, 34% of Russia's strategic aviation fleet. But what's confirmed, what Russia has said, is they lost 5. So somewhere between 5 and 34%. But I'm going to show you guys all kinds of contradictions in reporting tonight that I have found, because it's who knows, right? So if the 5% number is true, then Ukraine managed to disable 4% of Russia's strategic aircraft versus 34%. Yeah, but who knows, right? Jen says, with all the AI videos out there, how do we really know if this happened? We don't.
No, my gosh.
But here's the thing. If it didn't, what's that? That's even worse. Right?
Because they're publishing it. That
they're creating it. They're bread and circus. They're keeping us busy and occupied, If that was true. Again, I think what was really interesting with it, they're claiming it took 1.5 years to prepare, and then the Russian bombers were all out on the tarmac, and that's part of the nuclear deals that have been made, so they were supposed to park all their planes out there. Boy, they won't be doing that anymore, right? The START treaty requires bombers to be out in the open to assess the number of strategic bombers and to determine if they're conventional or nuclear armed. The Iranian attack will have big impact. Brett says, I'm not happy with the last few months of Trump. Me neither. Expose the waste, but Trump isn't pushing execution of killing the waste. Yeah, I'm going to talk a lot about that tonight too. So here's some actual pictures, babe, of the planes you were talking about. Right? But what's interesting, if you look on one side, I'll read one report, right? Same planes, right? This is what happened after Ukraine executed Operation Spiderweb against Russia. Ukraine's drone attack hits more than 40 Russian bombers and planes. Okay. The other side says, in addition to the fake news about half of Russia's long-range aviation being destroyed during the airfield strike, the media field continues to be flooded with primitive fake news. Another example is a video circulating of a German and English segments on Twitter. So who knows? Who knows what to believe, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
We knew Zelensky would sabotage peace talks with Russia because the war is his cash cow. Just before negotiations, Ukraine attacked a Russian airbase, destroying 13 planes and damaging more than 150 drones, and destroyed 40 Russian bombers, as we just discussed. Debris from the downed drones sparked fires in Russian residential areas, escalating chaos. Zelensky keeps poking Putin, so don't cry foul when Putin hits back. Poland's new leader, Karol Nawrocki, is a conservative like Trump and isn't a fan of Zelensky either. Zelensky's war cash is drying up. Time to let it go. Zelensky putting people in danger for his own gain is treason. Also, in Boulder, Colorado, I didn't read this part. A guy with a homemade flamethrower hurt people yelling "Free Palestine." I won't read all that. Just in Ukraine, just blew up the only bridge connecting Russia to Crimea. This isn't defense. Zelensky is begging for full-blown war. First, he wipes out Russia's nuclear bombs, and then he cuts off critical Russian supply lines. After the strategic aircraft, Russian blogger bleakly describes how aircraft are at risk all over the world. And I think the point of this is everything's changed and everything's accessible. If they can pull a semi-truck up and launch suicide drones, how many backpack-sized drones did the 10 million illegal aliens cross our border with?
Yeah.
Right? And this is not hard. This is low-tech, super effective, right? But this is big stuff. This makes every single thing accessible. This makes the White House accessible.
Yep.
This type of attack, it will completely redefine how
We are
war is done. Yep, 100%. Hey, Amy B, how are you? So I think this makes everybody vulnerable. Whether they hit 5 or whether they hit 41.
Yeah.
Right. Either one. But the story gets better. Vladimir Putin went on to say, they invented that Russia wanted to attack NATO. Have you completely lost your minds? Dumb as this table. It's nonsense. Utter rubbish. It would be rubbish if it wasn't a plan just to trick their own population by saying, help, Russia's going to attack. U.S. authorities anticipate that a response from Russia will occur shortly, and they're talking about the response to this drone attack. U.S. intelligence has yet to determine what targets Russia may strike, but officials suspect that Moscow might resume drone attacks on civilian locations, and the target would be energy, which they've already begun attacking. I'll fill you in a minute. Vladimir Putin said that Ukraine attacked our air bases where Russia's strategic bombers are located. They proved that there can be no peaceful resolution. They have prepared their own end with this action. There is no more red line. They will regret they did this. So I would say this effectively ends any report of them talking peace. And it's now coming out that President Trump wasn't even informed in advance of Ukraine's drone strike on the Russian bombers. Now, there's two parts to this. One, if he wasn't informed ahead of time, obviously that's a big lapse, right?
Yeah.
But I think there's another side to this too, or are they just claiming he wasn't informed so he can play good cop, bad cop with Putin and Zelensky?
right.
The president of Ukraine didn't trust the president of the United States with information about the sneak attack on Russia because the president of the United States might have told Russia, think about that for a second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Gregory says, take Graham Cracker's passport away. Maybe he should have stayed in Ukraine with Zelensky. Well, he's got Trump's endorsement now, so, which is Putin, the real power in the U.S., does not rest with the presidents, but with the dark-suited men who work in the shadows and hand them their marching orders. It's why every single leader ends up having the same policies while dressing up a little differently. Isn't that the truth? I think that is actually said super well by Putin. You know, it's all the same party, just a little different color, you know. Yeah, Kerry Davis says, why are we still in NATO? Trump once again threatens Russia. So he said, if Russia is out of line, you'll be amazed at how tough. Remember this. They like to say, I'm friends with Russia. I'm not friends with anybody. Trump.
Yikes.
The escalation continues. Right? Breaking, it begins. And this was today's stuff. It begins. Waves of Russian bombers unleash strikes across the Ukraine. The skies over Ukraine are burning. Russia has launched wave after wave of long-range bombers and missile strikes to a scale that has not been seen in months. This is no longer retaliation. This is the message and what it means. Russian forces have located a hangar concealing U.S.-supplied HIMARS systems, reportedly discovered before the strike. Photo shows the hidden launchers. They blew that building up. We're getting closer and closer to real war. Yes, this is still a special military operation. Slowly, Putin is taking off his gloves. They didn't learn before. They still don't understand. Putin doesn't bluff. They were warned and they didn't listen. F around and find out. Russia went on to bomb the thermal power plant in Kyiv, and now Zelensky is complaining today about how they don't have any electricity. An underground bunker containing 56 Storm Shadow missiles and 32 Patriot air defense missiles and 53 ATACMS missiles has been reportedly destroyed in Ukraine in Russia's first wave of attacks. Zelensky faces his darkest night yet, and fear now grips not just Ukraine, but every Western bunker. Russia has launched its massive missile arsenal on Ukraine. The White Swan Tu-160, Tu-95 caliber missiles, Islander missiles, and Garin drones all unleashed at once. Tonight will be anything but quiet.
Yikes. Scary.
Yep. The former plant in Kyiv, you can see that first explosion. Well, they blew that up, and now they're saying that the vice president of Ukraine was targeted in that attack. Russia's massive strike begins. There's no turning back. Russia unleashed a wave of destruction on Ukraine. Missiles and drones lit up the sky. Air defenses failed to stop them. The storm has begun. Breaking as 15 hours ago, but massive explosions are shaking all over the Ukraine. Air raid sirens are blaring. Air defenses are falling one by one. Right? But Ukraine today begins to strike back. Ukrainian planes using ASIM-guided bombs completely wiped out the primary Russian base of operations in the Kursk region of Russia. Ukraine launches a huge drone swarm attack against military targets across Russia. They hit a fuel depot and a military electronics plant along with an airport. The Brits said this is not good for the Russians. The Russians keep another bomber fleet there, and it's either just a refilling station and oil depot or more Russian bombers.
Or more.
What do you think about all this, Pumpkin?
Always fighting.
Yep. This is how Donald Trump reacted when Putin kept attacking Ukraine despite peace negotiations. Trump said he's in a war. They are attacking each other. No one said this was going to stop, except he said that in one day, his first day in office, he would stop it. But what do I know? Russia's placed its forces, all of its nuclear forces, on high alert. So unconfirmed reports indicate that Russia's strategic nuclear arsenal has been placed on high readiness following the Ukrainian strikes on Russia. Attention Europe, the Russian Orshnik hypersonic missile armed with 6 maneuverable warheads can strike, and this, Putin said this, can strike any target across the continent. No air defense on Earth can intercept it. The West acted like Russia was armed with nothing but shovels. They'll now getting brutally schooled. Let's be real and face the facts. Russia is fighting on a whole different deadly level they never even dreamed of. Play dumb and suffer the consequences. Yeah, let's see here. Why are we involved in a war that has nothing to do with us? The same reason we're always avoided in a war that has nothing to do with us, because there's two super profitable industries in our world, and they are sickness and war. We'll be cool, so I don't care about their war as long as we quit sending money over there. Yeah. And then Kerry Davis says, so I guess our return on investment sucks. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, that's a fact, huh? Let's see here. UK, it is clear that Britain needs chaos on the European continent more than anyone else, says Maria Zarhova. The medieval tendency to hunt witches and the desire to control everything by pitting people against each other has not been eradicated from its political class, says the spokesman for the Russian Foreign Ministry. Britain now plans to transfer nuclear weapons to Zelensky. Congratulations, we're all going to die. Just in, China says the United States is responsible for the war between Russia and the Ukraine. What are your thoughts on this? Ex-German Prime Minister Baerbock has been elected the president of the United Nations General Assembly, and she's more pro-war with Russia than Olaf Scholz was. The globalists recycling their puppets. What status or achievement does she hold to get that position? This is insanity. Let's see. Fire those mofos and stop voting for them. Well, except we just keep doing it, Brett, over and over and over again, right? I mean, I voted the last election. Not a very good return on investment. This is an interesting story, getting off of Russia for a moment. So did you guys see that the FBI confirmed that the terror attack suspect is 42-year-old Mohammed Sabri Solomon, who was in the country illegally, and this is in Boulder, Colorado. DHS is monitoring a terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. We are working with our interagency partners, including the FBI, and we'll share more information soon. And what I thought was so interesting about this is Permapasture Farms, our buddy Billy Bond, came out and said, I almost posted this prediction yesterday. Should have trusted my crystal ball app. And just like that, poof, the Trump Palantir betrayal magically disappears from the Monday morning headlines, Bravo Deep State, and then retweeted Secretary Kristi Noem's DHS is monitoring a terrorist attack in Boulder. So you guys have any idea what I'm even talking about here? Because this is gigantic.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so while this terrorist attack was going on in Boulder, Colorado, something else was going on that was really important. Trump has tapped Palantir, who I don't know if you guys know what company that is. Hey, batshit crazy, what's up? I don't know if you guys are familiar. If you are not, you need to look them up, okay? Trump has tapped Palantir to create a master database on every American, says the New Republic. The Trump administration has sought access to detailed citizen data to include bank account numbers, student debt amounts, medical claims, disability status from government databases. So we already have the information. What they're saying is that they've hired this company, Palantir, which I'll talk a little bit about who they are, to put all of that information into one database. Okay. Palantir has secured over $113 million in federal funding since Trump took office, with ongoing talks to expand its technology to the Social Security Administration and the Internal Revenue Service, according to 6 government officials and Palantir employees. Jason Bassler said, no, this Palantir database isn't like the others. It will combine tax filing, student debt, Social Security, bank accounts, medical claims, and immigration status. No previous database system has ever centralized this much personal information across various agencies. In case you forgot, yesterday's national distraction was meant to keep you from knowing about this. And that was Permapasture Farms again, talking Jake Fields, do you trust Palantir with all of your data? So the Palantir database will almost certainly become a gun registry, and if not called that, can't wait to see the mental gymnastics from MAGA. Trump's ally, Peter Thiel, Thiel previously accepted $40 million from Jeffrey Epstein, an investment now worth $170 million. And Epstein quietly invested in Thiel's Valar Ventures in 2015. The $170 million stake is the largest asset remaining in Epstein's estate. So who's Jeffrey Thiel? Well, Jeffrey Thiel is the chairman of Palantir Technical Company. In May 2023, Thiel incorporated Palantir Technologies, a big data analysis company, after the Tolkien artifact. He continues as its chairman. Thiel stated that the idea for the company was based on the realization that the approaches that PayPal had used to fight fraud could be extended into other contexts like fighting terrorism. He also stated that after the September 11th attacks, the debate in the United States was, will we have more security with less privacy or less security with more privacy? He envisioned Palantir as providing data mining services to government intelligence agencies that were maximizing unintrusive and traceable. So they are promising they'll be transparent. But just so you know, Planeteer's first backer was the Central Intelligence Agency venture capital arm, In-Q-Tel. The company steadily grew and in 2015 was valued at $20 billion, with Thiel being the company's single largest shareholder. So basically, Planeteer is ran by two people. The CEO is Alex Karp, and the chairman, which is the highest position, is Peter Thiel. A couple things, though. The CEO of Planeteer, Alex Karp, says his company's software single-handedly stopped the far right in Europe. Now they will be building an AI-powered government mega database of all America's personal information right here in the United States of America. In 2018, Cap described himself as a socialist and a progressive. I won't go into this anymore, but this all happened behind the scenes while the terrorist attack was going on in Boulder, Colorado. What a mess. A couple other things. So Pfizer granted a patent. I don't know if you guys are, oh yeah, this is a great one right here. I try to follow Whitney Webb. Hey, Beth Emily, how are you? I don't know if I said hello or not. If I didn't, there you go. Juby Joe says, I try to follow Whitney Webb. Whitney Webb does a great series on Peter Thiel and that whole organization. If you guys haven't seen it, you absolutely should. I have a good feeling you guys are voluntarists in the making. It's perfectly fine to pay attention to world events, but fundamentally change will happen locally. And David, I'm telling you, we're doing it locally. You know, I get on here and I talk about what goes on in the homestead, and I talk about the world because it's what we do and it keeps me kind of in tune and those kind of things. But the fact of the matter is we spend a large part of our time trying to change it locally. You know, it's just not easy. Mo, if you look at data centers, the government they likely already have this. They are just going to make it openly now. Yeah, well, Peter Thiel also was one of the largest donors to the first Trump campaign. So this could also just be, you know, a kickback. Jesus, that article makes me want to get out of the system more than any fear-mongering prepper video ever has. Yep. That is a fact. Yeah, there you go. David says, Whitney Webb is a fantastic journalist. Yes, she is. Yeah, and Gregory says, I like it better when I was left alone and Planeteer would leave my personal information alone. They're not. Guys, we're moving closer and closer to digital currency. We're moving closer to digital ID and social credit scores. It's happening. It's going to happen under Trump, just like it would happen under Biden, in my opinion. Anyway, very, very interesting. I dug up and kind of by mistake, but found this patent that Pfizer patent application was approved, right? And in its very first patent that shows up in a list of over 18,500 for the purpose of, and listen, remote contract tracing of all vaccinated humans worldwide who will be or are now connected to the Internet of Things by a quantum leak of pulsating microwave frequencies of 2.4 gigahertz or higher from cell towers and satellites directly to the grapevine oxidized held in the fatty tissues of all persons who've had the thing. And there's the patent. If you want to know, I think it's 11-107-59882 if you want to look at it. That's exciting.
No.
Also, in case you didn't catch it, Bill Gates funded a peel, and it's now been approved for use on U.S. organic produce. So Bill Gates' peel that they put on all of the fruits to make them look nice and fresh is now approved as organic. That's exciting, right?
No.
You go buy your organic food.
All kinds of, yeah.
Right. Do you think there's a correlation between the amount of solar farm warnings for electricity shortages in these data centers? I think that nothing happens by mistake, Jen, and I think there's so much more to it than we understand. You could absolutely convince me that there's a link between them. And if that wasn't good enough, the USDA, in fabulous news I know you guys will like, drops rules requiring farmers to record the use of their most toxic pesticides. On June 3rd, 2025, many farmers will no longer have to keep any records or when, where, or how they're using pesticides known to pose the highest risk to human health and the environment after a recent change made by the U.S. Department of Agriculture on May 12th. Okay, the agency rescinded regulations that have been on the books since 1990. That's exciting, right?
That's great.
Go get your beef. Go to Walmart, buy your beef, go get your organic vegetables with peel on them. Yep, and to a thundering applause. Bread and circus. I don't know if you guys heard this story or not, but two Chinese nationalists, the FBI has confirmed the U.S. authorities had stopped a terrorist scheme by two Chinese Communist Party agents to smuggle a toxic fungus into a Michigan lab that could have wreaked havoc on the American food production system.
That's crazy.
The individual, not how you say that, Young Qing Jing, is allegedly to have smuggled a dangerous fungus called Fusarium draminium, which is an agro-terrorism agent, into the U.S. to research at the University of Michigan, where she works. So again, we have two Chinese people who have come into the country carrying agro-terrorism, and it's so funny to get everybody worked up, and you get this. That's horrible, right?
Yeah.
And see those pictures? That's what they snuck in. It was those 4 little bags right there.
What is it?
The little pieces of mold of a fungus. Now, obviously fungus spreads, and I'm not suggesting it's nothing. I'm just saying that, it's hard to really discern, is this a big deal, or is this a big effort to keep you scared?
Right.
Right? Now, Dana says they were chemtrailing in Texas today. Jesus says, who was it that made the veggie wash probably 15, 20 years ago and even got the spinner thing? It was supposed to get all the bad stuff off. Tried it way back when. We got sick when we used it. I don't remember that.
What?
The veggie wash with the little spinner?
Yeah. The salad spinner?
I don't know. All right, moving on. Volcanoes continue to erupt. I don't know if you guys are tracking. This is something I track a lot because, real quick, before I do that, let's get to Mo here because he's really smart on this stuff. I know there's a reason between, I think he's going to say there's a link between data centers and base power. Working on fixing some of these issues with a massive battery centers, 100+ million plus in my previous job. Yeah. Yeah. So Mount Etna in Italy is now erupting. I don't know if you guys seen that or not. The Japan volcano continues to erupt. Hawaii's still erupting. Which one's that one? Guatemalan one is still erupting. And the Mount Etna one was crazy when it erupted. There was all kinds of people up there, and there's videos all over the internet of people trying to run down the mountain. But I think I'm still also monitoring this 2,000-mile wide dust storm that's approaching the USA. So the East Coast from
where?
the Sahara Desert. And they're saying that it's 2,000-mile wide. Have you read about that at all?
No.
Yeah, gigantic.
No, I've been not really paying attention to everything else.
You had a few things going on lately. Yeah. Anyway, certainly something to be aware of. I'm trying to hustle. Talking about health, schools in various provinces reported suspending classes and placing students in quarantine, leading to growing concerns among the public of a new lockdowns happening in China. The quarantine notice in China attracts widespread attention to this new strain of thing. And just so you know, you are in good hands, and the government is here to help you. And the FDA just approved a new thing. It's called MN Spike. This product has not been evaluated for its potential to cause cancer, says this doctor. Not one single randomized control trial. But the good news is they have a solution for the problem, right?
Right.
Nito says several volcanoes all around the Ring of Fire are either erupting or at least rumbling. Yeah, there's a big one in Alaska. There's a whole bunch of them. Yeah. More good news. I know you guys, a lot of people were asking about this. There's a big feud going on between Elon Musk and Trump.
I didn't know. You want to turn the light on real quick? I know we've only got a few minutes, but.
How about that? Okay, so Elon Musk tweeted out, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." Elon Musk goes on to take a jab at President Trump by quoting a tweet that he put out in 2013 when Trump said, "I cannot believe the Republicans are extending the debt ceiling. I'm a Republican and I'm embarrassed." Right? Then he went on, Elon, and said, "Call your senator and your congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Kill the bill." And this is Trump's big, beautiful bill he's been talking about, right? So then Trump got on, as you know, in Trump fashion, and says, "I don't mind Elon turning against me, but he should have done so months ago. This is one of the greatest bills ever presented in Congress. It cuts, it's a record cut in expenses, $1.6 trillion, and the biggest tax cut ever given. If this bill doesn't pass, there will be a 68% tax increase and things far worse than that. I didn't create this mess. I'm just here to fix this. This puts our country on a path of greatness. Make America great again. If you're giving tax cuts only to borrow the money to make it up, it wasn't really a tax cut.
Mhm.
If you think that process all the way through. Right. Former Doge head Elon Musk then issued a stark warning to the president and says the Trump tariffs will cause a recession in the second half of this year. Elon Musk. The people have spoken. The new political party is needed in America to represent the 80% in the middle. And exactly 80% of people agree. Laugh out loud, says Elon Musk. All on the world stage, David. You are 100% correct. But the drama continues in middle school fashion.
Right.
Trump confirms Elon is upset because we took the EV mandate away. So he's saying because they are not going to mandate electric cars anymore, but this pissed Musk off. He also went on to say that he recommends somebody to run NASA, and I didn't think it was appropriate. So Musk got mad for that too. Such ingratitude. Elon Musk responds and says, without me, you would have lost the election. Donald Trump says the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contract. I was always surprised that Biden didn't undo it. So in light of the president's statement about canceling my government contracts, Elon said, SpaceX will begin decommissioning the Dragon spacecraft immediately. Oh, my goodness. And Elon says that he endorsed the proposal to bar all sitting members of Congress from re-election if the deficit exceeds 3% of U.S. GDP. Let me get to some comments here real quick because I missed a whole bunch of them. Jen says the series The Last Ship, 2014 to 2018, was about a man-made virus that killed 5 billion. Answer was to make a vax that could be aerolized and distributed it by just breathing on an unvaccinated person. Wow. Yeah. Mo says smallpox would come in a volume about that size of fungus. It would take out a large portion, 20% of the U.S. Brett says the U.S. petrodollars is shot out. Trump, see, we can't pay our bills. So digital, here we come. You better hold tangible assets. This I agree with. Sons of Hack says, I just looked through that patent. Looks like AI Wi-Fi will allow them to identify individuals in a room who have had the jab and who hasn't, and see those who are super spreaders. Farming health reports. It's lovely. Big fences, tall trees, everybody. Then, so Trump goes back on to, hit back at Musk and says, that was totally a Nazi salute that Elon did, by the way. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. Remember when Elon got in trouble? So then Elon dropped a serious bombshell on social media when he made allegations that President Trump was in the Jeffrey Epstein files, saying that that's the reason they haven't been made public. Yep. Donald goes on to say Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate and forced everyone to buy electric cars, and nobody else wanted that he knew for months was going to do, and he just went crazy. He goes on to say. Oh my goodness, where we
So
at
they're
here?
fighting.
Yeah. Mo says, I think Musk should work on moving to another country. They would talk to him differently if he did. Let's see. And so some other people's opinion. I figured I'd just fill you in on. So, and just like that, the Democrats are now demanding the Epstein files be released. Kill the bill and release the Epstein's files, says the Democrats, which is hilarious. The big, beautiful bill is a debt bomb, says Thomas Massey. It's ticking. It's also the biggest missed opportunity conservatives have ever had to put our country back on track. Elon Musk again says, call your senator and congressman. Bankrupting America is not okay. Steve Bannon tells Political reporter on Elon Musk, you're going to tell me that we should allow some fucking punk to sit there and say he should be impeached and then let Vice President Vance should step in? F you, dude. We're going to go to effing war, and I'm going to rip your effing face, he says. Representative Massey says, I trust the math from the guy that lands rockets backwards. Speaker Johnson said, I'm going to call Elon right now. Of course you are. Right? General Mike Flynn says, Elon, it will not get better. The hogs are still at the trough and will refuse to move away from it. There is not enough honest people in Congress who are willing to stand up for the harder right thing, even at this stage of our monumental national debt. So this is a big one, guys. I'm going to blow that up a little bit for you guys. I want you guys to see that. It's just so... General Mike Flynn, I'll say it again. I think this is a really important statement. He says, Elon, it will not get better. The hogs are still at the trough and will refuse to move away from it. Crazy. Bannon said President Trump should act immediately if Elon threatens to pull a major program from SpaceX. Trump should sign an executive order tonight, and under the Defense Production Act, SpaceX should be seized by the U.S. government before midnight. I'm going to put our face back on there. There it is. If the bill were solely about making the 2017 tax cut permanent, Rand Paul said, I wouldn't be a yes, I'd be a hell yes. But unfortunately, that's not the reality with the bill. It includes the largest increase in the debt ceiling ever and will have the United States borrowing $5 trillion over the next 2 years. This bill is the opposite of conservative, and we should not pass it. Hey, conservative friends, welcome in. Let's see here. There are a lot of parallels in the storyline with the rebels and the conspiracy theorists and the military as the saviors. The spin was quite interesting when you look at it from a 30,000-foot view. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen it. I'll have to watch it. Hey, Farm Ranch Homestead said, just realized y'all were on. Too much going on here. Howdy, everybody. I guess I'll have to go back and watch from the beginning. Well, welcome in. RN, welcome in. If I didn't see you, but I think you're bailing. I think you're out too. I think I got everybody. One shouldn't put two mad bulls in a pen together. It doesn't work. Both bulls have a job, not just in the same pen. Yeah, when you're the CEO and the richest guy in the world, all of a sudden it's probably pretty hard to take orders. Right? After a day of suspense, Trump and Elon have made a joint announcement. And guys, I'm going to tell you, this almost got me. There's a video out there of Trump and Elon making up, but it is totally fake. It's totally AI generated. And it got me kind of laughing. And then this post came out. We're totally being okey doke, laugh out loud. Elon, that was a good one, Trump. And next, call me retard. And if the end of the day, though, I'll tell you guys, there's some things that lose a little bit of credibility for me. If the Dems thought that Trump was on the Epstein list, that list would have been out long ago. Right?
I agree.
And so that loses a little credibility with me. But you have to see the genius in this play. Right? Elon and President Trump stage a massive public feud, singing insults and grabbing every headline. The media eats it up, focusing on their clash. Then, boom, Elon drops the Epstein bombshell, claiming Trump is in the files. Suddenly, all eyes shift to Epstein, and the media buzz about those sealed documents. Perfect timing for Kash Patel to disclose the Epstein files. This is Sun Tzu's level strategy, misdirection, and striking at the heart of the narrative. Trump and Musk are playing 4D chess, orchestrating the greatest reverse psyop ever. Nothing can stop what's coming. Nothing. I don't know if I buy that. You know, I watched a couple of the videos of Trump and him going back and forth. It seemed legit to me.
It'd have to. Come on now.
Yeah.
It would have to.
Yeah. Juby Joe says that when the CEO comes home, the wife rules. Yeah. Brett said Elon has the largest SAT program. He doesn't give an F about EB. I actually agree with that too. I want to believe that he really looked at the bill and said, we're not borrowing $5 trillion more dollars after all this work I did trying to save money on Doge. I'm out. This is ridiculous. That's what I'm hoping happened, but we shall see. Right? Hour and 54. Okay, I got to get hurried. Okay, red alert. They're about to create a mass casualty event and lost World War III. Who was that? I wish I could get rid of that timer. That was a good one. No, that ain't gonna work. Anyway, I'll go back to that real quick. Let's see. Breaking News Nation journalist Ross Coulthart claims that an apocalyptic event will happen in 2027. Everyone's telling me we're on borrowed time. I cannot begin to emphasize how serious a look I get They're saying to me, people have the right to know this. They are all constrained by their national security oaths, and they want the public to know. And the reason why I put this one in here is 2027 is interesting. There's a asteroid that's coming pretty close to the U.S. In 2027. The Health Ranger, I don't know if you guys follow him or not, but the Health Ranger says another massive pandemic psyop is coming. And at this time, they'll use self-replicating, amplifying spike protein bioweapons to try to exterminate even those who refuse the jabs. You can see all the power players gearing up for this right now. Your only protection is blocking the spike proteins and refusing to comply. Nicotine is a key factor for blocking the spike protein toxicity, which is why nicotine is under assault worldwide, with many attempts to ban it entirely, no matter what the form. Try to grow tobacco without state permission and you'll be arrested, and all your crops will be destroyed. Censorship is also a key part of the plan to isolate people from natural cures that work. The global extermination activity is about to take a huge leap forward. Get ready. And then the biggest one, at least for me, and I'll end the live with this point right here. I don't know if you guys know who Jamie Dimon is, but Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, very smart man. And Glenn Beck kind of freaked out over this because it says CEO of world's biggest bank says the quiet part out loud. JP Morgan Chase CEO urges the U.S. to stockpile guns and ammo, not Bitcoin. And that's the largest CEO in the country. So in my opinion, I would take heed. What am I doing? Man, I'm just a mess tonight, ain't I? How about that? Look at that. Right? So I think that it's a mess. And the good news is we are all living our life, and right. And we're becoming less and less dependent.
Hopefully.
Right? Hopefully.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So it'll be pretty interesting. But I would love to know from you guys if you think Elon Musk is Bruce Wayne or Lex Luthor. Because I still haven't figured that out.
Back and forth.
Yeah. I'm not even sure that all of the stuff happened in Russia. I'm not sure that Ukraine bombed them or that they returned fire. I'm not sure that there's another strain of the thing going on in China. I'm not sure of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Jen says exactly why they approved the appeal crap. They're going to put the pokey on the food that was proposed in 2016 for mass pokey at the World Health Conference. Man, you guys get me all excited. I remember when one of the major disputes was Cokes or Pepsi, or great taste, less filling. Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to go back to those days, huh? Yeah. Amy B says Elon Musk is Clint Eastwood in Unforgiven, the anti-hero. Yeah, definitely interesting. Well, babe, we got any final thoughts before we get out of here tonight? What do you want to talk about?
Find your people.
You want to add to anything to that? You want me to just take off of that?
I was thinking, I was going all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
No, it was, it was nice to be able to have people around when things got tough. It was nice to be able to feel the love. We feel the love all the time though. And it shouldn't take a
tragedy,
bad situation to remember that.
Yeah, I think as people, we need to quit playing small. And I think people do it all the time, and it happens around me all the time. It happens in many cases. When you're going to let something like,
I've heard this before.
I didn't get a big enough bowl of cereal, or somebody got more of this than me, or this wasn't fair. That's just playing small stuff. That's all that is. And all that does is keep you in that constant state of victimism, looking for a bad guy out there somewhere, which is part of the tactics they use to keep us all separated and, keep us fighting each other, and, instead of, going out and fighting them. And so I think to say I love my people is 100% true, but in loving those people means an investment in those people. And it also means don't play small. Get out of the little stuff. The little stuff doesn't matter, and the fact of the matter is if you go at someone and you don't get the response that you were looking for, is it their fault or is it your presentation that sucks? Right? I mean, ownership's on both sides of that argument. Well,
yeah.
Right. And so I think it'd be a great time for, all of us to think and say, you know what, that's right. I'm not going to play small. I'm going to play big 30,000 foot picture. And I'm going to go out there and build something beautiful and not get caught in the weeds. Right.
You have just such wonderful ways with your words.
It's because I married you. You taught me. Right before the live, she coaches me on all of this. We sit down
right.
and she says, this is exactly
This is what
word
you're
for
gonna
word.
say.
You have 20 minutes to memorize it. And then we go live and right. Yeah. And Jen says, great words with actions behind them. Well, it absolutely takes action. I mean, you got to be willing to go take a little bit of risk and willing to get out there a little bit and be willing to give of yourself and also be willing to just say it's cool. We disagree. So what? Right. Some will, some won't. So what?
Yep.
And kind of go on with your day and don't let it, steal your energy in any way. So
Or change your heart.
Yep. So we're going to leave you guys on that. So, and we'll see you guys again on Friday. Don't play small.
Yeah.
Tag out. See you guys. Good night, everybody.
Line.